Hello everyone! Today we are taking you to magical Apulia in Italy, a land of white houses with green shutters, small coves with azure waters, fairy tale Trulli houses, a world-famous cave restaurant, delicious burrata and octopus sandwiches. In this vlog we will visit famous places like Polignano a Mare, charming Monopoli, Ostuni, Alberobello and Locorotondo, as well as Bari itself. And of course, we will indulge in lots of delicious food. We have plenty of culinary recommendations for you because after all, it's Italy. During this trip, we also had the opportunity to visit nearby Matera, which will be featured in a separate video, so make sure to subscribe to our channel not to miss it, as Matera definitely was one of the highlights of our trip. Now let's move to our first town, Polignano a Mare. I think this town, although small, might be quite familiar to you thanks to the most popular beach in all of Apulia and the globally famous cave restaurant, Grotta Palazzese. Polignano a Mare was our base, so we managed to explore it quite well.
Let's start with Belvedere su Lama Monachile. It's the most beautiful viewpoint in Polignano a Mare. From here you can take photos with the iconic view of the famous Lama Monachile beach, which we'll talk about in a moment. Everyone loves Polignano for its beach, but what stole our hearts was the old town. Narrow wide streets, plants in pots, cacti, small squares, hanging lights and plenty of aesthetic decorations on basically every door, balcony and shop. The locals know how to impress tourists. The town is simply stunning. There is nothing better than getting lost in the narrow streets of Polignano a Mare.
Of course, our vlog wouldn't be complete without food. Apulia is famous for its octopus sandwiches. First up, we went to Good Time typical food and drink. If you are in a mood for an octopus sandwich, come here. As I'm not a fan of octopus and seafood in general, I ordered a burrata and mortadella sandwich. It was really delicious, but the octopus sandwich that my husband had was simply amazing. I really regretted that I hadn't ordered one. It's definitely the #1 place for an octopus sandwich. We also ordered fried seafood here, but it was rather average, so we can skip that.
After lunch, it's time for something sweet. We visited a famous place specializing in café speciale, which reminded us a bit of Spanish barraquito. The drink consists of coffee, sugar, cream, amaretto and lemon or lime zest. Delicious. This coffee is typical for Polignano a Mare and was invented right here in this cafe. It costs €2.50.
Now let's talk about the famous beach. It's the main attraction of the town. It's probably the most popular beach in all of Apulia, often featured in newspapers and travel articles. It's loved by both Italians and tourists, but despite all of its fame, we also felt it was the most crowded beach we've ever seen. We decided to use a nice day and went for a swim. It was the biggest disappointment of our trip. People everywhere, it was hard to find any spot to even lay down a small towel. People were constantly passing by our heads. It wasn't a pleasant adventure and we absolutely do not recommend this beach if you want to have a nice time and swim. To our surprise, we were in Apulia in May, which is off-season, and yet there were such crowds. If you like small beaches in intimate coves, it's much better to visit neighboring Monopoli, which we will show you later in this video.
For dinner we can recommend the best place for delicious Neapolitan pizza. It's Il Quadrifoglio restaurant, located on the main street Via Roma. Good dough, high quality ingredients, which is the perfect recipe for a successful evening in Polignano. If you're not in the mood for pizza, they also serve tasty and fresh seafood. The only downside is the quite long wait for dishes, which we experienced ourselves. On the other side of the town, you can also stop by the monument of Domenico Modugno, the Italian singer famous for Volare. Interestingly, the famous lyrics Nel blu dipinto di blu can be seen on the main street in Polignano, as light decorations.
The next day we visited another highly recommended place for octopus sandwiches. They also have a great promotional offer. 2 Aperol Spritz plus octopus sandwiches for 20 euros. For this area it's a real bargain. What else is worth doing in Polignano a Mare? Take a romantic motorboat trip and admire the town from the water. You will see beautiful caves with blue water and you might even enter the famous Grotta Palazzese, known as the most romantic restaurant in the world. We chose a 2-hour motorboat trip for 2, but there are also cheaper trips in small groups available. Each option includes champagne and planned stops for swimming. If you would like to go on such trip, we will leave the link in the video description. During this trip we celebrated my husband's birthday, so we also went to a more elegant restaurant called Crew Fish Bar. As the name suggests, the restaurant specializes in fish and seafood, and we can honestly recommend it because everything was really delicious. As I mentioned, we stayed in Polignano, so we had the opportunity to visit quite a few restaurants here, including Olio Pane, located on the main street. It's another place with octopus sandwiches. It was tasty, but in our opinion not as good as the other 2 places.
This vlog may be not very chronological, but on our first day, taking advantage of the weather, we visited the fairy tale Alberobello, the most popular town in all of Apulia. You can see it with the naked eye because it really attracts crowds of tourists, even off-season. The town is visited by as many as 1 million tourists annually. Alberobello is famous for its characteristic round houses with cone-shaped roofs called Trulli. You will find close to 1,500 of them here, with most located in the Rione area, also known as the Trulli zone. In the past, such houses were built to avoid taxes, as taxes were only levied on solid brick houses. Trulli, on the other hand, were considered unfinished houses, because they were built without mortar, so they could be quickly dismantled if needed. Trulli houses are inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List. As a curiosity, you can rent such houses on Airbnb because there are quite a few offers available. As for the Trulli zone, the houses now house various shops and restaurants, so you probably won't see native Alberobello residents there. This part of the town is very commercial. It's also worth seeing Trullo Siamese, a double trullo consisting of 2 cones. It's located in the Rione Monti and is one of the oldest trulli. If you want to capture the most beautiful view of the cone-shaped roofs, it can be found near the Santa Lucia church. For a quick lunch before siesta, we went to Trattoria Casa Amatulli, where we had a plate of grilled meats and traditional orecchiette pasta, which we'll tell you more about later in this video.
It's also worth leaving the Trulli zone and heading towards Rione Piccola. There are significantly fewer tourists here, so you can relax a bit and take much nicer pictures. There are also fewer Trulli, around 400, and they may not look as impressive. They are not as decorated, there are no souvenir shops, and it's generally less commercial, but in this part you will find more Trulli for rent, but also inhabited by native residents. However, the atmosphere in this part is much more authentic. When visiting Alberobello, it's worth stopping by a nearby town of Locorotondo. It's a charming white town offering magnificent views of vineyards and olive trees. Particularly, you should visit the municipal park Villa Comunale for the best views. Additionally, walking through the wide, narrow streets, sitting down for a coffee or a glass of wine, or indulging in Italian gelato are must-do activities in Locorotondo. It's the perfect place for dolce far niente. We stopped at Ombre e Fioi and their cannoli was outstanding. We had cannoli many times in Sicily, but this one was definitely the best we've ever had. As a fun fact, during Christmas, Locorotondo transforms into the most beautiful town in all of Apulia thanks to its holiday decorations. The following day we visited what we believe is the most charming town in all of Apulia, Monopoli, just a 15-minute drive from Polignano a Mare. With its white houses, green shutters, potted cacti and many picturesque corners, Monopoli absolutely stole our hearts during our trip to Apulia.
The biggest highlight is the old town itself. Its labyrinth of charming streets lined with white houses with colorful shutters and potted flowers leads to beautiful squares like Piazza Giuseppe Garibaldi. We especially loved Via San Vito and the church of St. Vitus the Martyr. It's the perfect spot for capturing beautiful photos. The green doors surrounded by plenty of plants in pots next to the most charming little church. Next, we reach the heart of the city, the harbor. Full of colorful fishing boats, it's an excellent place for a stroll and observing daily life. It's best to come in the morning to see the fishermen returning with their catches, selling fresh fish and seafood straight from their boats. While exploring the old town, you can't miss the Cathedral of Santa Maria della Madia. This impressive Baroque church from the 18th century is one of the Monopoly's most important landmarks. Inside you can admire richly decorated chapels, frescoes and relics. Legend has it that the church was made possible by the miraculous arrival of an icon of the Virgin Mary on a wooden raft, which was later used to build the cathedral's roof.
For dinner we went to Angelocinque. It's a bit more elegant restaurant, perfect for a romantic dinner. We ordered a selection of small appetizers from the sea and from the land, allowing us to try quite a variety. Additionally, we highly recommend their pistachio pasta. It's definitely a paradise for pasta lovers. Interestingly, for a higher-end restaurant, the prices were quite reasonable, not much different from standard prices elsewhere. We loved Monopoli so much that we returned the next day. Apart from the old town, the town is famous for its beautiful beaches and crystal clear waters. The most popular is Cala Porta Vecchia beach, located right next to the old town. It's a city beach, the most accessible and of course the busiest. Remember, we were here off-season, so it would definitely be much busier in summer. Nevertheless, to our surprise, the beach is really nice. Maybe not just the beach itself, but the color of the water pleasantly surprised us. Walking further along the coast, you will reach another beach, Porto Bianco. Here there are fewer people, just a few minutes walk away. Porto Rosso is the last of the beaches, a 10-minute walk from the old town. It's definitely the largest and least crowded, so it's perfect for sunbathing. This time we had lunch at MiCasa. The food was really tasty, but honestly it didn't particularly stand out in our memory. We can recommend the main courses, but the appetizer we ordered looked better than it tasted. My husband insists they had excellent seafood. Monopoli is a town that will surely delight anyone who visits. We also believe it's a great base for exploring. I would even venture to say it's the best in the area. Beautiful town, a huge selection of restaurants and 3 beautiful beaches practically in the city center.
Another day, another town and another gem of Puglia, this time Ostuni. It's a charming white town perched on a hill, also known as La Città Bianca. Ostuni is small, you only need 2 or 3 hours to explore, but beware, there are many stairs. It was almost siesta time, so we headed straight to lunch at Sapere e Sapori, where we started off wonderfully with an amazing appetizer, followed by orecchiette, traditional Apulian pasta, one serving with broccoli rape and the other with tomato sauce. It didn't win us over, but it wasn't the restaurant's fault, rather our choice of dish, as we tried to appreciate orecchiette in a few other places, but it didn't spark our enthusiasm. Not that it wasn't tasty, but it just didn't leave a lasting impression. Walking through the winding streets of the old town, you will discover its unique charm. The white limestone houses create an incredible atmosphere. It's worth getting lost in the maze of narrow streets to find hidden corners, small squares and charming shops selling local products. During your visit you'll surely come across the Cathedral of Santa Maria Assunta from the 15th century. Built in the Gothic style, it sits atop of the hill. Its facade with a beautiful rose window and is a true masterpiece. Piazza della Libertà is the heart of Ostuni, where you can relax with a coffee at one of the numerous cafes. This square is home to the column of Saint Oronzo, the city's patron saint, and the town hall.
In Ostuni we also tried traditional gelato served in a brioche bun, surprisingly warm. However, we can't recommend this delicacy. The brioche was average, lacked flavor, and on top of that we overpaid as we paid €6 for a tiny portion of gelato inside. For the most beautiful sunset, we recommend going to Borgo Antico Bistro. The views are stunning. You can also enjoy a great platter of local appetizers.
The city of Bari itself, let's not sugarcoat it, was the weakest point of our entire trip. We would recommend spending just a few hours exploring rather than using it as a base. A few days in Bari might be a bit tiresome, especially if you're seeking a holiday atmosphere or relaxation. Bari is very loud, bustling, quite different from the other towns we visited in Apulia. On the bright side, exploring the old town Bari Vecchia, you can observe authentic local life. Houses often stand open, it's very noisy, Italians shout a lot and there is a lot going on. It's the best way to explore Bari. You'll definitely stumble upon charming squares, churches, including the Basilica di San Nicola, one of the most important pilgrimage sites in Europe, and Piazza Mercantile, the main square in Bari Vecchia, where you'll find many restaurants and bars serving local specialities. One of the most characteristic places in Bari Vecchia is La Via delle Orecchiette. Here you can see older women hand-making traditional orecchiette pasta, symbol of Apulian cuisine.
We also tried the most famous traditional focaccia in Bari at the legendary bakery Santa Rita. It may sound simple, but the queues were so long that we seriously doubted we would make it. We returned 10 minutes before closing and it was a stroke of luck. We can recommend this strategy. Instead of dozens of people, there were just a few in line, so we didn't hesitate long and joined the queue. Within minutes, we had in our hands a hot, greasy, delicious focaccia with tomatoes and olives. Was it really that good? Yes, we didn't expect it to be so tasty. Price-wise, it was also fantastic as we paid only €4 for a large round focaccia. We hope you enjoyed our vlog from Apulia, and if you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel to see more of our videos from many other amazing destinations.